Hey there, Norman here from WoCode, and today we're going to be taking a look at the age verification widget. The age verification widget is a simple yet effective solution for websites that need to comply with age restriction laws or to protect minors from accessing inappropriate content. This widget is robust yet very easy to set up and use. You can restrict specific pages or restrict the whole site, all while having full control over the styling and customization of the widget. So let's jump into the builder here and take a look at how we set this up. Here in the builder, we have our Pokey Cafe template, which I've gone in and slightly updated the content to reflect a bar website. I've just updated the background image as well as the text on the top of the homepage. Now, a website that displays content such as alcohol is going to be a prime example of how the age verification widget might be used. Now, if we jump into our preview site here, we can see an example of the type of design we're going to be creating. We can see that when the site is entered, we're greeted with a very simple yet stylish pop-up, with the site itself being very faintly visible in the background. Before we can enter the site, we must first enter our date of birth at which the site can be entered, as we'll see here. Heading back into the builder, we're going to open up the widgets panel, and we're going to start by grabbing that age verification widget. Now for this example, we're going to put this right up into the header because we want this pop-up to be displayed across the site on every page. Alternatively, if you only wanted the age verification widget to be displayed on a specific page, instead of dropping the widget into the header, you would drop it directly onto that page itself. With that said, let's jump into the widgets option panel here and take a look at how to set this widget up. Starting at the top of the content panel and working our way down, the first option we have is the preview in editor toggle. This will enable or disable the age verification pop-up from being visible while in the editor. You'll want to enable this setting when editing or styling the widget, and then disable this setting when you want to edit the site page itself. For example, it's currently enabled and we can see the pop-up, but if I disable this, the pop-up is no longer visible and we can continue to edit the site as normal. I will re-enable that and we'll move on down to the next option, which is the select layout option. Now there are two options in this drop down: standard and side image. The side image layout will display everything the standard layout does with the addition of an image on the left or right side of the pop-up. For our example here, we'll select side image. And as you can see, there is an empty white space on the right side of the pop-up. We'll add our image into this space when we get to the design tab settings later in the video. However, it is worth noting that when the side image layout is selected, the image will only be visible on the desktop and tablet layouts and will be automatically hidden on the mobile layout. This is done to ensure that the content is visible on smaller screens. Following that, we have the verification pop-up content panel. Here's where you will add the content for the pop-up, such as the title, description, footer text, and logo. For our example here, I simply want to update the description, and that is good to go. Let's move on down to the verification method. Here is where you will set your verification method, and there are three options available: by birthday, so day, month, year; by button configuration, which is simply an enter site, leave site option; and an age input option, which is simply an input field where the user will enter their age. For this example, we want to use the birth date option. And then below that, we have the required age to enter field. This sets the minimum age the user must enter before they can enter the site. We'll change this to 21, and we'll move on down to the verification method configuration panel. In this panel, you'll find all the settings for verification methods, such as changing the labels for both the enter and exit buttons, toggling the visibility of the exit button, linking where the exit button will take the visitor, as well as setting the layout for the input variant. As we can see here, we can toggle through these and you'll see that the input changes accordingly. Following that, we have the on failed verification option. This sets the behavior for when a user fails to pass verification within the pop-up. We can either have an error message display, we can have an error message as well as redirecting the user, or we can simply redirect the user. Following that, we have the verification error message. This is the message that will be visible when the user fails verification. Below that, we have the input validation error message, which is the message that will be shown when an invalid entry has been entered into the age verification field. For example, if a user were to enter the number 56 into the month field, well, there's only 12 months in a year, so 56 would be invalid, and that would trigger the error message. Below this, we have the redirect link option. This is where you'll set exactly where or what page the user will be taken to after successfully passing validation and clicking the enter site button. Following that, we have the redirect delay option. When the on failed verification behavior is set to redirect the user, then this setting will set the delay time between when the failed verification occurs and the time that the user is redirected. And then lastly, we have the show only once toggle. When enabled, the pop-up will only show once for users that successfully enter the site. The pop-up will not reappear for those users until or unless they clear their browser's cookies. With that said, that's the content panel. Let's go ahead and jump into the design panel and take a look at how to style this widget. Here in the design tab, you'll find extensive styling options. Most of the design options are related to the text styling, which is pretty self-explanatory, as well as quite a lot of additional options related to padding and margins. The number of customization options in this widget is quite extensive, so I won't be going over every single option here in this video, and for a more in-depth explanation for what each design option does, I would definitely recommend checking out our training doc for this widget. However, there are a number of specific settings that I did want to highlight. The first one being in the widget styling panel. In this panel, I want to take a look at the page overlay color option. This sets the page overlay color that appears behind the pop-up to hide the page content. This is useful for if you have an image added into the overlay background setting, but you also want to have the image be transparent in order to show the color coming through as an overlay. So for example, let's go ahead and add an image as our background, and we'll grab just a random image here. Now, if we come up to our page overlay color, we can change this to something noticeable and prominent, such as this pink color here. We can change our overlay opacity down to 0.5. And the overlay opacity dropdown will affect the opacity of the background image. So a 1 will equal fully opaque, and a 0.5 will equal 50% opaque. Now we can see that we have our background image displaying as transparent, and that pink overlay background is coming through, creating an overlay effect with the image. For this example, I'll go ahead and remove this, and we will set this back to black. And for the image, we'll set this to this image of these cups. And great. So now we can jump into our next option panel, which is going to be the layout styling option panel. In here, you can set the width and height of your pop-up. So I want to set the width to 900. And then the rest of this looks okay. We can close this. And then next, we want to open up the side image layout styling. This is where you will add that side image if you're using the side image layout. To do this, we simply select the image tab here, and then we can add our image, which I'll select this bar. Perfect. And if we open this panel back up and we scroll down, we can see here that we can change the position of the image to be either on the right side of the pop-up or the left side of the pop-up. We'll set this back to the right side, and then also we can set the image width. So how much width this image in the pop-up takes up. I'll set this to an even 50%, and with that, we can go ahead and close this panel. And now our pop-up is looking great. I did want to also style these buttons. So in order to do that, we're going to come down to the button styling option. Coming down to the enter button styling, I want to change the background color to be this darker green that we have in our global colors. And then if we scroll down further, I want the exit button's background color to be this lighter green that we also have in our global colors. And now we can see here that we have those two buttons styled. We have our side image set, everything's resized, and we have our background image. One more design setting that I wanted to mention while we're still in the design tab is located in the error styling tab. Here we have the option preview error in editor. When this is toggled, the error message in the pop-up will be displayed in the builder, allowing you much easier access to editing the style of the error message. If I enable this here and close that panel, we can see here that the error message is now visible. I need to open this up and disable that toggle, and now the error message is once again gone. One last thing that I did want to do before we take a look at the preview site here is I wanted to set the leave site buttons redirect to be more traditional of a site that sells alcohol. If we jump into the content panel and we scroll down to verification method configuration panel, we come down to the exit button label. Just below that, we have this link to button. And I just want to change this to responsibility.org, which is something you would normally see on a site like this. So we can go ahead and close all this out, grab our preview URL, and take a look at our site. Taking a look here on the preview site, we're greeted with this very stylish age verification pop-up. And if we were to enter our birthday into this field, and click enter, you can see that we enter the site without issue and we're able to fully navigate the site. If we refresh this, we can see that the pop-up appears once again. And if I click leave site, we can see that the exit button is redirecting me to the URL that we entered into the widget. And that's all there really is to the age verification widget. As you can see, it's a very simple to set up widget that provides a robust amount of customization and styling options, all of which accumulate into this very functional and stylish age verification pop-up experience on your site. With that said, my name is Norman Durkee, and you've been rocking with the best website builder platform on the planet, wocode.com. And until next time, and as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to support. We're always here to help.